The library was silent, too silent. Only the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the faint rustle of pages broke the stillness. Then came the thud. A chair scraped the floor, followed by muffled voices. Inside the dim-lit corner, 3 boys towered over a young woman, their shadows stretching long across the shelves. "Where's your confidence now, Miss Perfect?" sneered one of them, pushing her shoulder against the shelf. The woman didn't flinch. She just looked up, her dark brown eyes steady and calm, almost too calm. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. They laughed until she moved. What happened next would make the whole school whisper her name in both fear and respect for years. But to understand why this moment changed everything, we have to go back to the day she arrived. When Miss Elena Torres stepped into Ridgewood High, she wasn't just another new teacher. She was a mystery wrapped in grace. Her soft-spoken nature, simple clothes, and calm demeanor made her instantly likable among the staff, but an easy target among students who smelled weakness like sharks scenting blood. Ridgewood had its troublemakers, led by 3 seniors: Jason, the arrogant basketball captain, who believed rules were for others, his friend Kyle, a joker with no empathy, and Mason, quiet but cruel, the one who never acted unless Jason commanded. Together, they ruled the hallways like kings of a kingdom built on fear. The moment Elena entered her first class, Jason was already smirking. "So, you're the new English teacher," he said, leaning back in his chair, arms folded. "You look too young to be grading essays." Laughter rippled through the class. Elena smiled gently. "Maybe. But age doesn't define wisdom, Jason. How about you read the first line of this poem for us?" Jason blinked, thrown off for a second. The laughter died. She wasn't angry. She was composed, and that unsettled him more than any shout could have. Still, the taunting didn't stop. Notes appeared on her desk. "Go back to school, rookie." Her coffee cup once had salt instead of sugar. Her bag went missing for 2 days, and every time, Elena handled it with quiet strength, never complaining, never retaliating. But behind that calm face was a woman hiding scars. Not the kind you could see. A year before, she had been a self-defense instructor for troubled youth in a women's shelter. She had seen pain, loss, and anger up close. She left that life after a tragic accident, one that took her younger sister, Mia. Elena blamed herself and walked away from everything that reminded her of violence. Teaching literature was her way to find peace again. But fate wasn't done testing her. The breaking point had happened on a Wednesday. Rain lashed against the windows as students left for lunch. Elena stayed behind, grading essays in the library. Jason, Kyle, and Mason slipped in quietly, laughing among themselves. They were supposed to be in detention. Detention Elena had assigned for cheating. They hadn't forgotten. "Look who's hiding with her books," Jason sneered. "Thought you could embarrass us, huh? I gave you detention for a reason," Elena said calmly, closing her notebook. "You cheated. Own up to it." Kyle grabbed her pen and snapped it in half. Mason laughed. Jason leaned closer, his tone dropping. "You think you can talk down to me, little teacher?" He shoved her gently, testing boundaries. Her back hit the bookshelf. Books rattled and fell. Her breath caught, not in fear but in restraint. She raised her hands. "Enough. Step back, Jason." Jason grinned, taking another step closer. "Or what? You'll write me another essay?" That's when it happened. He grabbed her wrist. The moment his fingers touched her skin, her instincts, the ones she buried deep, the ones trained to protect, came alive. A swift motion, a twist. Jason's arm bent painfully behind his back before he even realized what happened. He cried out, stumbling. Kyle lunged forward. She sidestepped, tripping him neatly, so he fell hard. Mason froze, unsure whether to help or run. Elena stood tall, her breathing steady. "I told you to stop." The room was silent again. The storm outside seemed to echo her heartbeat. She let Jason go, not out of mercy, but to give him a choice, to walk away or cross a line he couldn't uncross. He chose wrong. Jason turned back, rage burning his pride. "You'll pay for this," he hissed. Elena met his eyes. No, Jason, you already are. The next morning, the story spread like wildfire. The new teacher flipped Jason. She used some kind of martial arts. The whole school buzzed with disbelief. Jason didn't show up to class. His pride was bruised worse than his shoulder. He avoided her eyes whenever they crossed paths. But humiliation turned to revenge, and that's when things got darker. One afternoon, he cornered her again, this time outside school. He tried to threaten her into quitting. Elena didn't argue. She looked at him quietly and said, "You think strength is about control, Jason, but true strength is restraint." Her words stuck with him, hauntingly so. Days passed. Jason's grades dropped. His attitude worsened, and finally he was suspended for fighting another student. But that's when the unexpected happened. Elena visited his home. Jason's mother was in tears, tired, defeated. He wasn't always like this, she said. After his father left, he changed. Elena found Jason in his room, sitting silently by the window. "What do you want?" he muttered. "I came to tell you something," she said softly. "You're not your mistakes, but you'll stay trapped in them if you keep hurting people." He didn't reply, but when she left, she noticed something. Her words had reached him, even if he didn't want to admit it. The redemption. Weeks later, the school hosted its annual assembly. Principal Harris invited Elena to speak about courage and respect. The students murmured as she walked up to the podium. Everyone waited for her to mention the incident. She didn't. Instead, she began with a story. "When I was younger," she said, voice trembling slightly, "I lost someone I loved because I thought walking away from violence made me weak. But it didn't. It made me human. I learned that real courage is not in fighting, but in understanding, forgiving, and standing up for what's right without losing yourself." Her eyes found Jason in the crowd. He was looking down, ashamed. When the applause ended, something incredible happened. Jason stood up. He walked to the stage, his voice low but clear. "I owe Miss Torres an apology," he said. The auditorium fell silent. "I was wrong. She taught me something no teacher ever did, how to respect others and myself." The crowd erupted in support. Elena's eyes welled up, but she smiled through it. From that day, the entire school saw her differently, not just as the teacher who fought back, but as the woman who taught strength without violence and kindness without weakness. Epilogue. A lesson that lingered months later. Jason graduated. Before leaving, he slipped a note under her door. It read, "Thank you for not giving up on me when I gave up on everyone. You didn't just teach English, you taught me humanity." Elena folded the note gently and smiled. She looked out the window where sunlight filtered through the leaves. The same peace she had searched for so long now glowing softly around her. The pain of her past hadn't vanished, but it had transformed into strength, purpose, and compassion. And somewhere deep inside, she knew her sister would be proud. True strength isn't about fighting back. It's about knowing when to stand firm, when to forgive, and when to turn pain into purpose.